Soak ginger in vinegar and watch how, in just a few days, it begins to transform into a bright pink color that seems almost impossible to achieve naturally. But why does this change happen? Why can something as simple as ginger, salt, in vinegar become a little daily secret for taking care of your body? And why do many people only use ginger when they have a stomachache, not knowing that the time they take it can completely change its effects? Stay until the end, because this recipe is not just about making pickled ginger, but about understanding how a simple habit can accompany you every day. If you have ginger at home, turning it into pickled ginger can be one of the most practical ways to use it. You don't need a complicated technique or hard-to-find ingredients. The important thing is to respect each step, because every detail influences the final result: the texture, the flavor, the color, and also the way the ginger absorbs the vinegar. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the perfect pink pickled ginger. Before we begin, I wish you health, wellness, and a life full of small habits that help you feel better every day. For a long time, I wanted to make this recipe, but there was a problem. I couldn't find young ginger. Young ginger is ideal because it tends to be more tender, milder, and helps achieve that beautiful pink tone more easily. However, if you don't have it, that's okay. You can also use regular ginger, like the kind usually found at home or in any market. The key is to prepare it correctly from the beginning, because an important question is this: if ginger seems so simple, why do some people achieve a crisp, aromatic, and balanced result, while others end up with ginger that is too strong, mushy, or has an aggressive flavor? The answer lies in the small steps coming up next. Now we start with the first important step: choosing and preparing the ginger. Ideally, you would use young ginger because its texture is more tender, its flavor is less aggressive, and its natural color helps the pickle take on that attractive pink tone. But if you can't find young ginger, don't worry. You can also make this recipe with regular ginger. The essential thing is to treat it with care from the beginning, because the way you clean and cut it will determine a large part of the final result. To remove the skin, I'm not going to use a knife. I'm going to scrape it gently with a spoon. This detail seems small, but it is very important. By doing it this way, we avoid cutting our hands and also avoid removing too much flesh. Right under the skin are valuable compounds of the ginger, which is why it's not advisable to peel it deeply. The idea is not to leave it perfect like a decorative piece, but to preserve its natural properties as best as possible. After cleaning it, it must be cut into slices as thin as possible. The thinner the slices, the faster they will absorb the vinegar, salt, and flavors of the pickle. In addition, thin slices make each bite more pleasant, crispier, and easier to pair with other foods. Have you noticed that the ginger in some restaurants has a delicate texture and a balanced flavor? That sensation starts right here in the cut. I try to make all the slices a similar thickness. They don't have to be perfect, but they should be as uniform as possible. This way, the vinegar penetrates equally into each piece, and the final flavor is more balanced. It also helps the jar look beautiful, neat, and appetizing. Before moving forward, remember this: a good pickled ginger doesn't start in the vinegar, it starts in how you treat each root from the very first minute. If you take care of this step, everything that comes after will be easier, cleaner, more aromatic, and also much more effective every time. Before continuing with the recipe, it is worth understanding why ginger deserves a more important place in our daily diet. Many people think that ginger is only useful when their stomach is upset or when we are looking for a hot drink on a cold day. However, what is often forgotten is that the time we take it can greatly change the way the body utilizes it. Ginger root contains natural compounds called gingerol and shogal. These bioactive compounds are known to support digestion, promote circulation, and help the body maintain healthy inflammatory responses. It is not a miraculous promise, but a simple food that, used consistently, can better support the body's natural functioning. And here a key question arises. If ginger has so much potential, why do we leave it forgotten in the kitchen until we feel discomfort? One of the most recommended ways to take it is in the morning, before eating. Upon waking up, you can take half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of freshly grated ginger, or cut 2 or 3 thin slices of fresh root and put them in a cup of warm water. At that moment, the ginger begins to stimulate digestive enzymes and increase stomach movement, helping the digestive system prepare for the day. When digestion is activated early on, the body can process nutrients better, reduce that heavy feeling after meals, and maintain more stable energy throughout the morning. How many times do we feel tired not from a lack of food, but because the body is working with slow digestion? That is where such a simple gesture can make a difference. Taking ginger at night can also offer different benefits. But if you had to choose just one moment, the morning on an empty stomach is usually the most useful option for many people. That is why this pickled ginger recipe is not just a side dish for sushi. It is a practical way to always have a small, tasty, and easy-to-add natural resource ready for your meals. Each prepared slice preserves that intention, to take care of the body with something simple, constant, and deeply traditional. And perhaps that is the true secret of this homemade preparation. After cutting the ginger into thin slices, comes a simple but decisive stage, letting it rest with salt. I place the slices in a container and add Himalayan pink salt. I use it because it retains essential minerals and is less processed than common table salt. There is no need to overdo it. We just need to coat the ginger well so it begins to release some of its natural moisture. Now you might wonder, why leave the ginger with salt for about 10 minutes? It seems like a small step, almost easy to skip, but it makes a big difference. The salt draws out the excess water from the ginger. Thanks to that, the slices maintain a firmer and crispier texture, instead of becoming soft and soggy after pickling. It also helps mellow the intense spiciness and that bitter note that fresh ginger sometimes has, making the final flavor cleaner, more pleasant, and more balanced. Furthermore, this resting period prepares the ginger to better absorb the vinegar and seasonings that will come later. It is like opening the door so that each slice receives the flavor evenly. And don't forget something important. Salt also acts as a natural preservative, helping to keep the preparation fresh and safe for longer. 10 minutes may seem like a short time, but they are the secret to achieving perfectly crisp ginger every time. After that rest, you will see that the ginger has released liquid. That is exactly what we are looking for. Now I prepare approximately 10 cups of water and 1 cup of rice vinegar. When small bubbles begin to appear on the surface, I add the ginger and let it boil for 3 minutes. No more. This brief boil improves the flavor, reduces the harshness of the ginger, and helps it retain a beautiful color. Afterward, I remove it, drain it well, and let it dry completely before moving on to the next step. The less water trapped between the slices, the more intense and clean the final flavor of the perfect homemade pickle will be. While the ginger drains and dries completely, I prepare the new pickling liquid. In a small pot, I add 1 cup of rice vinegar, although you can also use apple cider vinegar if that is what you have at home. Then I add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. At first glance, it may seem like too large an amount, and you might wonder why use so much sugar in a recipe we want to enjoy healthily. The answer is simple. Many pickles we find in Japanese or Korean restaurants contain even more sugar. However, if you prefer a lighter version, you can reduce it or even eliminate it completely. The important thing is to stir the mixture well and heat it just enough for the sugar to dissolve. You shouldn't let it boil for a long time because we are not looking to cook the vinegar, but to create a clean, balanced base ready to penetrate each slice of ginger. When the sugar has dissolved, I turn off the heat and leave the mixture ready. Now I return to the ginger. To achieve the best quality, I try to dry it as much as possible. The more water I remove, the better the final result will be. If too much moisture remains, the flavor can become diluted and the pickle will lose intensity. That is why this step requires patience. It is not complicated, but it is important. Next, I prepare a completely clean, sterilized, and dry glass jar. This detail should not be ignored. If the jar has traces of water or dirt, the pickled ginger can spoil prematurely. The cleanliness of the container is what allows it to be safely preserved for more days. I place the ginger inside the jar and add some red shiso leaves to give it that natural pink color. If you want a more intense color, you can add more leaves. I like to use them because they not only provide color, but they also contain antioxidants and vitamins that help support the immune system. Finally, I pour the vinegar mixture until the jar is filled almost to the brim. At that moment, everything is ready to rest in the refrigerator. And here another question arises. If the color can be distributed unevenly, how do we get the whole jar to look beautiful? The answer will come with daily resting. After closing the jar, I put it in the refrigerator. During the first few days, the color doesn't appear all at once. That's why it's a good idea to gently swirl the jar every day. The pink hue tends to concentrate around the red shiso leaves, so shaking it a little helps distribute the color more evenly throughout the ginger. There's no need to open or touch it, just swirl it carefully and put it back in the fridge. By the third day, a change is already noticeable. The ginger begins to take on a light, delicate color, as if it were slowly absorbing the life of the vinegar and the leaves. At that point, I shake it again and return it to the refrigerator. But the real transformation is best appreciated around the 7th day. By then, the slices acquire a soft, clean, and very attractive pink color. The difference from the first day is obvious, and that's when you understand why this preparation requires patience. Now the pickled ginger is ready to enjoy. And remember something important, it's not just for pairing with sushi. You can also add it to fried or grilled foods to balance out the greasiness. You can put it in burgers, salads, or simple dishes whenever you want a fresh, tangy, and aromatic touch. It also goes very well with seafood because it helps neutralize the strong smell of fish and leaves a cleaner sensation in the mouth. This recipe is simple, but effective. It reminds us that sometimes the best habits aren't the most complicated ones, but the ones we can easily repeat. A little ginger, a little vinegar, a few days of patience, and you'll have an accompaniment at home full of flavor, tradition, and natural benefits. If you found this idea useful, subscribe to the channel to discover more simple, natural health secrets and traditional recipes that can help you live better every day.